Nope. I didn't know you were this hardcore about sleep, dude.
I just bought a $160 pillow. Side tangent. That's coming in later next week. For a third of our lives, we're asleep, right? If I'm going to spend some time doing something in the morning, might as well make it something that I know my body needs and has been literally built to desire.
Where the mind goes.
When do you think my morning routine starts?
I feel like you're a morning person. I'm gonna guess that you're similar to me, and I bet you your morning routine starts at 6:30.
That's a good guess.
Is it accurate?
My morning routine starts at 8 p.m.
Oh, I see what you did there. Okay, all right. Spill the beans.
I've been so focused on when I wake up, what I do after I wake up, that I've neglected what I've learned is arguably more important to a good morning routine, which is getting a good night's sleep and preparing for that adequately, because you could have the best morning routine in the world, right? You could have your journaling, meditation, you can get cold shower in, get a workout, journal. But if your sleep is shit, then all of that is going to suffer, right? So
that is so true. And I feel like so many people I've been watching recently on YouTube all like rave about how important your nighttime routine actually is.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things too where people, it sounds obvious, right? Oh yeah, obviously I need to get a good night's sleep, 8 hours
Who
of
actually
sleep.
does that, right?
And what does that actually mean? Right? It's kind of like saying eat healthy. You're like, well, what does eat healthy mean? Is that a lot of food? Is that a little food? Should I be getting 6 hours of sleep to 8 hours of sleep? Is 9 hours too much? What type of sleep? How do I prepare for sleep appropriately? So one of the things I wanted to talk about from a morning routine perspective is before my morning routine even starts, right? How do I prepare for a good night's sleep to optimize that morning routine?
So what do you do?
I think there's really three things. First and foremost is going to bed at a regular time. And I think that's one of the most understated hacks from a sleep perspective that you could apply, because your circadian rhythm is so reliant on routine that in order to be able to really capitalize on that, right, even just 2 to 3 days of a consistent sleep schedule isn't enough. And there's this really cool analogy that I heard when it comes to sleep and even just 5 days, and let's call it a weekday of getting to bed at a regular time and then staying up really late on the weekends, right, as a way to take advantage of those free days. You're essentially giving yourself jet lag by doing that every weekend, right? It's like flying to the other side of the country and then spending a couple days over there and then flying right back and then wondering why I'm so tired Monday and Tuesday. It's because you're jet lagged.
You're so right, though. I feel like it takes me until like Thursday to finally be like, okay, cool, we're back in the rhythm, and then Friday hits and it's fucked again.
Especially when you're what I would call consistently inconsistent. So every weekday looks the same, every weekend looks not the same, right? Let's call it 10 p.m. on weekends and 1 a.m. or 10 p.m. on weekdays and 1 a.m. on weekends, right? That's like flying to the East Coast every weekend and getting jet lagged and coming back. So first and foremost, getting to bed consistently within an hour on a daily basis. And I try to do that on weekends as well. Sometimes it'll be, within 2 hours, which even then is like a minor jet lag, right? But being able to stay consistent, right? So for me, that looks like anywhere from 9 to 10 p.m. I'm in bed by. So consistency, I think, is the first one. Second one being the temperature in my room. So everyone has their own preferences, but from a physiological perspective, lowering the temperature in the room specifically to somewhere around anywhere from 69 degrees to 64 degrees, right? For me personally, 66 is what we keep it at night.
Wow, really? You have that much attention to detail about like sleep?
Yes. Oh, very much so.
Wow.
And I notice.
Where did you learn that?
I would say a lot of it is Andrew Huberman, and some of the scientific. I don't even say just generally scientific, more like neurological reasoning to how this affects your brain and the hormones and the neurochemicals
That's cool.
that are reliant on that circadian rhythm. So I'd say he's probably the main driver of it, but it's one of those things where there's a great book, Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker that I read a few years ago that really highlighted a lot of this as well. And he goes into everything from how substances affect sleep, from caffeine to alcohol to marijuana, to how how you sleep and what you sleep on and how you measure your sleep, and really kind of just opened my eyes to the importance of I could be putting in hours in the gym, dialing in my nutrition, optimizing my mental health, right? But if my sleep is crap, then all of that's going to suffer from it as well. It's
So
like
do
it's
you
like a
not
lead
smoke
domino.
at night anymore?
No, I still do. But I'm very cognizant of the effects that smoking closer to bedtime has.
Okay.
I track my sleep every day.
Do you really?
Yeah, every night with a Whoop strap.
Whoa.
And what
Sorry,
I look for
what was that called?
specifically, Whoop, WHOOP,
A Whoop strap.
Whoop strap.
Ah.
Great app.
Honestly, it sounds like a sex toy, if I'm honest with you.
It kind of is. I mean, if you tighten this thing enough, I guess it could be a sex toy. It's fitting around my wrist right now. I'm looking for an hour and a half of deep sleep a night is what I'm looking for.
Okay.
So if I notice 3 nights in a row of less than an hour and a half of deep sleep a night, then I'll make sure that I'll take a night or two off of smoking close, for bedtime. And, sometimes it'll affect me falling asleep, but I'll notice my deep sleep will rebound significantly after that, somewhere around 2 hours, 2+ sometimes. So that's really kind of how I measure whether or not marijuana is affecting sleep. A lot of people use it to fall asleep, and it does help you fall asleep. But what it does normally is suppresses your deep sleep, and deep sleep is really important for physiological recovery.
Totally.
So REM sleep is a lot more important for neurological, right, for your brain. Deep sleep is much more important for physiological recovery. So everything from organ function to muscle growth and muscle repair, inflammation, right? Deep sleep is what kind of helps flush all of that out and regulate all of that. So then going back to the temperature of the room, right? Lowering that temperature down to 60, somewhere in those low to mid 60s. What that actually does, and you would think that a cold room would actually make it harder to fall asleep because you're cold and you would be like, I'm going to shiver or something like that. But what ends up happening is it regulates your internal body temperature and tells your body to start cooling down. Your body actually relies on this part, going back to the circadian rhythm, right? And a optimally regulated circadian rhythm essentially has its coolest temperature 2 hours before you wake up.
Really?
Yeah. So your core temperature, and I can measure it with, some of the biometric trackers and everything, but being able to see how much your temperature drops is important. So if that temperature doesn't drop deep enough, right, it'll actually affect the hormone response when you wake up. Right. So having that cold temperature at night essentially allows for that circadian rhythm to keep its normal function, drop your core temperature, allow for your body to rest and recover, and then which also activates that deep sleep and that REM sleep that we talked about. It's often why if you were to track your sleep, you would notice most of the REM sleep and deep sleep that you get happens in the back third of that night, or the last third of when you sleep. And it's cool to watch, actually, because
with your Whoop strap?
Yeah, with my Whoop strap, using the Whoop app. It's interesting to find that if I was to look at my data, and I can actually hack this a little bit, if I do need more or specifically REM sleep, if I can wake myself up about an hour or two before I need to get up, fall back asleep, that last hour to an hour and a half of sleep will be primarily comprised of REM sleep.
Wait,
and
what? Go back. How the heck does that work?
I don't know.
So waking yourself up helps you sleep more?
So for example, if I go to bed around 10:30 and I wake up at, let's call it 4:30 or 5, so about 6.5 hours into my normal sleep cycle, and then I'm able to fall back asleep to wake up, let's call it at 6 a.m., right? That last hour to an hour and a half will probably be 70-80% REM sleep. Why that
Wow.
happens, I'm not exactly sure,
That's so
but I've
crazy.
correlated it to some of my most vivid dreams happen at that time as well.
Really?
Right. So if I'm able to, and my wife has been able to kind of notice the same thing, where if she gets too much sleep, she'll have some pretty aggressive dreams. And I've noticed it too with not only my data, but with my ability to wake up naturally. It'll affect the next couple hours of when I wake up. I'll be a little more groggy, but I will have noticed I get a lot more REM sleep. So just something interesting, right? So that dark room
That's a cool hack. I've never. Did you like make that up, or did you read that somewhere?
I've actually don't think I've ever really read that anywhere. And I don't think it's anything more than anecdotal at this point,
Okay.
because I've noticed it for me and I guess my wife as well. But I
kinda
haven't
wanna
really kind
try
of tossed
it.
that out. Yeah, I
I
would
kind
say
of want
it's,
to try it and report back. You
oh,
know?
and yeah, it might work.
So curious.
I think REM sleep is it's not less important to get as much REM sleep as you need, and more important to get consistent REM sleep,
Huh.
especially over the long term. If you're getting an hour to an hour and a half of REM sleep, I would say that's more than enough. So it's not like I need to get 3 hours of it every day, but if I'm not getting enough, and it's not something I'll do on purpose, but I'll definitely notice a little bit
Okay.
more of that. And then the last thing is really quick back on the room specific. So cool room, and then also a dark room. So blackout curtains is something that we use in our room year round. And it's even more important for the summer months when the sun goes to bed, or when the
Yeah.
sun goes down really late and gets up really early,
Yeah.
because a lot of times that light, especially in the morning, can activate your circadian rhythm, start elevating your cortisol levels, and getting you to a point where you'll start tossing, turning, waking up with the sun,
Yeah.
right?
Totally.
So being able to have those blackout curtains has been a big game changer
You're just
for
gonna
us.
get more REM sleep, basically. At that point.
Yeah, and just ensure that you're getting your full amount of sleep that you need, and that because ideally we go down with the sun and get up with the sun, and even in the midsummer months, you could still be going to bed at 9 p.m. with the sun, getting up at 5:30 with the sun, and getting close to a full 8 hours of sleep a
Yeah.
day.
Totally.
So it's not necessarily, and in the winter months, right, then you'd be sleeping about 12 hours a day, maybe even more. So that is not necessarily doable then. But point being, those blackout curtains, especially specifically in the summer months. So dark rooms. I even remove all of the lights. So lights from the TV, like lights from the clock, everything like that. Even just those small lights that kind of just brighten a room a little bit. There was an interesting study done that showed that even if you can't see the light, your body registers and can feel the light touching.
No way.
Yeah, and I don't
Even
know.
if you can't feel the heat of it.
Sometimes no, not even with the heat. And again, for
What?
me, I maybe more placebo than anything else, but I have noticed it. So for instance, if I'm in a hotel room, I'll be very cognizant of the light coming off of the button on the TV, or the clock, or the microwave, or any of the other, even the smoke alarm, right, has a light that comes down.
Totally.
So in my room, I have blackout buttons or blackout stickers.
Damn,
that
I did not
cover.
know you were this hardcore about sleep, dude.
Oh, I love sleep. I just bought a $160 pillow. Side tangent. That's coming in later next week.
Is it called the Whoop pillow?
The Whoop pillow, Whoop strap app pillow. No, it's not, but it's specific for cervical support, side sleepers. I just take sleep really seriously.
Damn.
We do it
I respect that.
for longer than for a third of our lives. We're asleep, right? Once I get up, I would say, and again, a lot of this is going to sound less. This is going to be really more to optimize circadian rhythm than anything else. But getting natural sunlight within an hour of waking up is something that I think is super important.
So you like go for a walk.
So
I've started
for a
doing
walk.
that too, just kind of naturally, and I don't know why it feels good, but it feels good.
Oh, there's a lot of reasons why. It regulates cortisol. It helps drain the adenosine receptors, which essentially are the thing that, if not drained sounds like a weird word, but they're higher up in the morning, and then naturally your body kind of releases these adenosine hormones throughout the day, lowering that overall number. If done appropriately, it prevents that afternoon crash. But one of the big things, without getting sunlight in the morning, you're kind of delaying the release of that adenosine. And then let's say you get sunlight around noon or 1 o'clock when you finally get out of the house.
When I leave my cave.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, your cave. But then you get that less sunlight, and then eventually your body goes, oh, now I'm going to release that adenosine. kicking off at around 2 p.m., then you get really tired, right? So getting natural sunlight in the morning is something I do first thing. And then before I like to wait about an hour and a half before I drink my coffee.
Really?
Yeah. And again, this is all going back to circadian rhythm and hormone function, but cortisol levels spike naturally in the morning within an hour of waking up, and caffeine essentially suppresses that cortisol spike.
Oh, okay.
So we want that to spike naturally in the morning, slowly release, and then we'll drink coffee, which kind of kicks off, and that caffeine kind of kicks in as the cortisol levels are decreasing, which gives us that natural feeling of, dopamine and drive and endorphins already. So that's when I like to get my coffee in. So in that 1 hour between when I wake up, I like to get sunlight. I like to get a ton of water in. So I'll drink anywhere from 16 to 32 ounces of water. And
Wow.
sometimes I'll chug most of that because I'm really thirsty. Sometimes I'll just sip on that over the course of that first hour. And then some sort of movement. So
Okay.
Ideally, I get my workout in about, it's morning walk, drinking a lot of water, drink my coffee, and then go work out.
I mean, I've not done it as intentionally as you, but like over time I've built a morning ritual, and the game changer for me was working out in the morning, which I never thought I was going to like. Like I thought that would last like a day.
Why do you think it's working?
That's such a good question. I mean, one, there's no excuse. Like there's nothing else that I'm doing at 6:30 in the morning. Like I have no meetings. You know what I mean? So I think just like no excuses from a time management standpoint. But I think what's really kept me doing it is just how I feel. I mean, I feel like the first 20 minutes of being at the gym in the morning is probably the worst part of my day. But like then after that 20 minutes, it's like one of the best parts of my day. I don't know. Like there's just kind of a slow switch. And then all of a sudden it's like, wow, I feel amazing. And then when I leave the gym, I have never felt better and more prepared, more energized, like far exceeding anything that coffee could ever do for me, from just a feeling of like, I'm ready to like go tackle the day,
I wish there was a way to describe that feeling a little bit more appropriately. The only word that I can think of that resonates with me about how that feels, to be able to, once that 20 minutes, and I agree that first 20 minutes or so here, you're like, oh, I'm still
literally
tired.
Want to be anywhere else.
Yeah. I would love to be back in bed. It's especially in the winter months, it's cold. And it just takes a long time. I'm not up yet. After I get through that though, and I think the word that I like to kind of gravitate towards is pride, right? There's a sense of pride that I get from being able to have gotten there, to be in the middle of my workout and be like, wow, I'm already halfway through. Like, I'm almost done with this. And then that feeling of walking out, whether the sun's getting up or already is up, you feel like you've already started the day doing something really difficult, and it makes everything else that you're going to do the rest of the day seem that much more trivial and a little bit easier to move through, to move over, and to get past. So it's such an important lead domino to your day, that exercise. And it doesn't have to be, a full strength training session if that's not what your schedule allots for. Sure. It could just be some movement, some mobility, movement of some kind. Right? Some sort of yoga practice or yoga. Or mobilizations, right? Going through range of motion in your joints. You said yoga?
I used to a long time ago, and that I didn't give me as good of a feeling as I feel like strength training does in the morning, but it was still an amazing feeling, amazing way to start the day.
It's something that Emily does.
Oh, okay.
So she'll do yoga in the morning, and even if it's just 10, 15 minutes, right? Just
for our listeners, body. Emily is Josh's wife.
Oh yeah, thanks. Yeah. She's not necessarily doing a half hour to an hour of yoga. Even just 15 minutes is something that really kind of, going back to circadian rhythm, kicks off your body's hormonal functions that are stimulated through movement, right? If you're getting up and rolling over and on your phone for 30, 45 minutes, and then going to the kitchen, making some coffee, and sitting right back down on the couch, right? I
think you just described like 90% of America.
Well, yeah. And that was me months ago, working from home, right? And most people who work from home, that's their morning routine right there. And what you're not teaching your body to do is, wake up with the day. And movement is one of those big ways to kind of show your body, hey, time to kick those cortisol or that cortisol up. Time to even everything from something, dopamine, right? We've talked about dopamine before, and everyone thinks dopamine is, synonymous with serotonin, so the feel good molecule, right? But it's really more the drive molecule, the, all right, let's go, let's get moving, let's get shit done molecule.
But why did you even want to get interested in that in the first place? Like, what was happening for you?
I was wasting my days, and most of my days, and I was leveraging other ways to get that dopamine in, whether it be food or drugs, or even just procrastination as a way to kind of get that dopamine in. And I was leaning towards those as opposed to ways that I could get those in naturally. And I started feeling like I wasn't in control of my days. And I talk a lot about it from a neurological perspective, but that's really what resonated with me, because I've listened to everyone from in the history books and their morning routines to, Bill Gates and Elon Musk's and, all these Warren Buffett's morning routine. I've heard them all, and the Rocks and even Andrew Huberman's, right? And what I've realized is it's less about what they do and more about the fact that they're doing it. So for me, if like I'm going to do something, I might as well take advantage of what my body needs in the morning. And the science just really kind of opened my eyes as to, oh, this is what my body needs, right? Maybe I could use some, and I've gone through and I've used meditation in the mornings and journaling in the mornings and reading in the mornings. And those are all great, but those are things that can be added to my routine once I've gotten the whole neurological circadian rhythm aspect nailed down. But for me, that's the biggest bang for my buck. If I'm going to spend some time doing something in the morning, might as well make it something that I know my body needs and has been literally built to desire. So that's why.
That like spoke right to me. You know what I mean? Because I feel like there's certainly some crossovers between your morning ritual and mine. And I'll share mine here in a second. But we also, I would say there's a lot of things that are different. But what is the same is that we just have a morning ritual. Mm-hmm. And I love what you were saying, that like really kind of hit a chord for me of like, there's just something about having a morning ritual that is powerful. And that, again, we see all these people who are quite successful who have built their own morning ritual, some of which are similar maybe to yours, some of which are probably radically different. Mm-hmm. But everybody has benefited from having that. And it kind of makes me think more about my own, because I don't say this lightly. I am allergic to repetition. And what I mean by that is I have this weird thing, and I've definitely talked about it with my therapist, but I hate, when I'm breathing into I hate doing the same thing over and over. I have a weird just hatred of that I can't get over very easily. It takes me a lot of work to have discipline to do the exact same thing. And my weird little hack for having that personality quirk is I always do a morning ritual, but I cycle through different things. And I say that because I think there are some people who are probably going to be more similar to you and are good at like, I'm in awe of your discipline. You have an incredible amount of discipline for repetition, which is also, I think, one of the many reasons it makes you such a good trainer, right? And like your ability to do that every single day over time is not something that I take lightly and I learn from all the time and I'm inspired by. And I think for myself, I go like, okay, I know that if I try to do the exact same thing every day, I won't do it. It will literally kill whatever ritual. So I've come up with this list of like 4 to 5 different things that I'll swap through. It has to include movement. Okay. So either I go to the gym or I'm going on a morning walk or I'm doing something to move. And then I'll usually cycle in something that has much more to do with my mind. So it might be an actual meditation or like a more of like traditional meditation where you're just quiet and you're just being present, right? I might do, instead of that, a Tony Robbins priming thing, which is essentially just a guided meditation. And it's priming my mind for a specific frame around gratitude and like manifestation and things like that. I also have this whole vision map with 100 affirmations that I might do instead. That one's way more time intensive. I don't have the energy and motivation to do that every day, but I'll cycle that through sometimes.
Do you go through all 100?
You literally say every single one of this 100 line credo, basically. And I will say that gets me in a mindset that nothing else will. Like, there's something incredibly powerful about, you start off, of course, kind of just being like, okay, I'm saying this, I don't really believe what I'm saying. But by 99, you're in a whole different frame of mind. It's crazy. It rewires my brain for probably at least 6 to 12 hours. I can feel the effects of that. So anyway, like, our morning routines are very different. I'm not doing morning routines from a neuroscientific perspective, right? But I love learning from you, like why you think so much about REM sleep. But I think the commonality there is like morning rituals are powerful, and they are a way to prime yourself for your day that you want to have and the space you want to hold mentally and physically. So you just need to find what works for you and try different things. You know what I mean?
Are there things that you wish you could add to your morning routine but don't have time? Or do you feel like you've got to a point where you're like, this is, cycling through these 3 to 5 things on a daily basis is my optimal morning routine?
I think I've finally found what works for me. And I'm sure, again, my personality is one that I'm allergic to repetition, but I'm addicted to the new. And so I'll probably always have new morning ritual practices that I might cycle in, but my core will always be the same. Having some form of movement, whether it's going to the gym or going for a walk or doing yoga, and then doing something that's really focused on mindfulness. So whether that's a meditation, I also do something called the morning pages sometimes, which is like automatic journaling basically, or doing that kind of 100 affirmation credo thing I talked about, right? So something that's very mind focused and something that's very physically focused. And that's really what I'm cycling through.
Do you think there's a difference between repetition and consistency?
Ooh, maybe.
Because what I'm hearing is, you might be allergic to repetition, but you love consistency.
Yeah, I do.
Right.
And I think that's something I didn't realize I loved because I hate repetition. So I thought I hated consistency. But you're right. I loved consistently doing a morning ritual.
Yeah.
It just can't be the same every single day or I'll explode.
And I don't think I even have the same. I mean, it almost is unrealistic to have the same morning ritual every single day, right? Because you have different priorities depending on the day.
Or you're traveling.
And unless you can have a 100% autonomy of your day, controlling every hour, which is an amazing goal, but unrealistic for most.
Especially if you're a parent, because F that, that's not going to happen.
Let's throw all this out the window if we ever have kids. But it's just one of those things where it's not going to be the same thing every day, but having an idea that there's going to be consistency. And I use the theme consistency for almost everything that has a goal associated with it, because consistency is what's going to get you to that goal, and repetition could be one of the ways that you're consistent, but there's many other ways to be consistent. So that's what I hear when you say this, right? You hate repetition, but I think you love consistency, and consistency is what really builds the value, out of the morning routine.
Where the mind goes.